Hi, everyone. Welcome to my next Tech Talk. I'm very fortunate to have Chris here with me. I've been trying to get him onto the podcast for a while. Just a short bio about Chris. Chris goes by the moniker of 24KaratChris on Twitter. He is also a Karatbars affiliate, and he runs a very successful YouTube channel called Grit, Grind, and Gold, or actually Grit, Grind, Gold. And he is a weekly guest on the CryptTalk Podcast and YouTube channel. Welcome, Chris. Glad to have you on.
What's going on, man? I'm glad you're alive.
Same to you. And I'm glad we can finally have this chat. So you're officially my second guest. And and who better to have a chat about Karatbars with than you? So let's get into it. So Chris, please enlighten us. I'm curious to know how you got into Karatbars and how you became an affiliate.
Well, I've been with Karatbars a little longer than I didn't really realize the big shift Karatbars had from the actual physical gold bullion to the cryptocurrency. So I got in Karatbars roughly 7 years ago, specifically just looking for a different gold supplier or a different opportunity to save in gold or get gold. And I wasn't looking for a MLM network marketing opportunity or anything like that. So, I kind of found them when they were at their very basics. And I kind of was blindsided by, or not blindsided, but just ignorant to the fact of how much stuff was actually going on once they turned to crypto, and how much damage was being done with their MLM network marketing structure.
Yeah. And so then you decided to start your YouTube channel. So what has the response been to your videos on YouTube?
And I knew to get any kind of not attention, but to grab Karatbars' ears, I was gonna have to be loud, and I was gonna have to be brutal, and I was. I mean, hence Grind Gold. But when I really think about it right now, I definitely get a lot of hate. I mean, you guys can, if you go on Grind Gold's YouTube channel, you can see that on the comments. But that really doesn't bother me, because I would feel dirtier selling, like, what's Karatbars' newest product right now? I think it's their WIM laptop. I would feel a lot dirtier
The
selling the WIM
multi-packages.
laptop to some, huh?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would feel really dirty trying to sell somebody a Karatbar product right now, whereas opposed that the love that I get from everybody from the YouTube channel, it's just it's been an experience, and it's been a really good one.
I'm glad to hear that. Well, I've been a fan of your YouTube channel, and that's how I actually found out about you when you did that infamous video of the K1 Impulse phone. But we'll chat about that a bit later.
I think that thing's at like 10,000 views right now.
Really, that's great. So you recently posted something really interesting about Karatbars and the gold products that they supply. So who actually supplies the cash gold and the classic gold products to Karatbars?
I've gotten most of the gold, the physical gold that I've gotten from Karatbars, all comes from Nadir. I have had physical gold products come from a different refinery, but once I started digging deeper into that, I looked up the Nadir, and pretty much it appears right now that all of Karatbars' gold products is being brokered through Nadir, because even the card, should I have some on me? I do. Even their card, no, I don't. The cards are even, the logos and the designs are still the same, but everything's coming from Nadir Refinery, which is out of Turkey. And the ironic part of that is, if you guys go on Nadir Refinery's website, you can pull up their catalog, and they have pretty much the exact same products that Karatbars is offering, but they have a better selection, and you can get it for the same price.
Very interesting. We'll post the link to their site in the comments. so people can check it out. But that logically, that makes me question why would Karatbars own any mines in Guinea or Mali?
Well, even if they bought a mine today, it would take them years. You brought up that the first time I told you about Nadir and showed you the catalog. I was like, you totally said it. Like, why would you even want to take the time, effort, and energy to buy in a gold mine when you already have somebody producing what you need?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that should be a wake-up call to everyone that believes that claim by the company. But then that begs another question. Does Karatbars actually have gold stored in Hong Kong or anywhere else?
I'm not one to say yes or no on that. And I've said this on YouTube videos. I mean, I can do it here. I can show you a stack of $100,000 bills right here. And these are all movie prop bills. It's no different with Karatbars. They could have easily rented gold and made a video to make it assume that they own gold. But my biggest question is, if your cryptocurrency was backed by gold, why isn't the value of your cryptocurrency following the value of gold? And it's just it's too many questions. I mean, I've read stories of Karatbars, just the vault that they have allegedly is just a rented locker that anybody can have. And I mean, you can't believe it's just something you saw through a video.
Good point.
And how many Karatbars affiliates actually in those videos? You don't see affiliates, you see corporate people. How many affiliates have actually gone to that vault and opened it up, or that locker and opened it up and be like, here's the gold?
That is a very good point. And I mean, a lot of affiliates claim to have been to Stuttgart and the other places, but no one outside of corporate has been there. That's actually the best argument I've heard for that. So just to get back to your first, the video that made your channel skyrocket or go to the moon, so to speak. So and you have a new video coming out, or a chat coming out tomorrow, is it, with CryptTalk on CryptTalk's video YouTube channel? So I mean, that video, your initial video about the K1 Impulse drew a lot of attention. So is there anything you can give us, like juicy information of your upcoming expose that you have?
Oh yeah, so the guy. So all right, if you guys don't know, tomorrow I made the original video with the K1 Impulse phone, and that's kind of what got Grind Gold went viral. And I was mad. I mean, I spent a lot of money on basically an overpriced walkie-talkie. And what bothered me the most was that prior to me getting my phone, and I did get my phone probably a lot quicker than some other people, you just saw the same videos being recycled of people opening the box up, turning it on, but nobody ever actually indulging in the functionality of the phone. Like how not just convenient, but was it, yes, you could turn it on, but like how good was it? And so I kind of went into that, and it was garbage. I mean, not that it still is garbage. But I didn't realize that a guy from he wants to remain anonymous until the video because he doesn't want anybody like looking him up and trying anything. But he actually had somebody give him the phone to basically reverse engineer the phone and tell them what they thought of it. And then while doing that, he found that first video I did, and he was just like, he reached out to me. I didn't realize he reached out to me because by that time I was getting emails and messages. It was really hard time management wise for me. Pre-corona, now I have a lot of time. But yeah, he reached out to me, and John Walsh actually hooked me up with a guy that wants to remain anonymous as well, that had some files and some documents and links. So we've been sharing information all the whole time. And I mean, really, the juiciness is that phone is not private. Basically, crypto data wants all your information. You can't say that voice over blockchain protocol technology works because their blockchain's not up, and every piece of hardware in it is dated to 2015. It's a $300, $200, 2015 Android phone that Karatbars sold for $1,300 euros.
Sounds like a great business model.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on what side of the business you're on.
Well,
Yeah.
I did get an email this morning, actually. Somebody saying that Harold Size, I don't know if it's in the back office. Like, I've given up on obviously for a while. I don't follow it. Like, I can't believe what they say. But somebody said Harold Size or Brian McGinty, who's a top leader for Karatbars or Gold Director Elite 3 in Ireland and the UK. He probably has direct connections with Harold, but Harold has put out a newsletter that says like he has lost control of the company, or he had lost control of the company, hired people that ripped him off. I mean, I know this sounds really political, but it sounds like a Trump move. I'm not responsible for what happened. I hired the wrong people. It's all their fault. So I'm just like, yeah, but you still sold the product.
Yeah, and it sounds very familiar. I mean, remember Marvin Steinberg taking the flak for, stuff that happened? There's always someone to blame.
But when you look at Marvin Steinberg now, like probably 4 weeks ago, he put out a really good article about security tokens. I mean, he's not Harold Sy. I've said this in my videos, and I know it sounds really petty, but when I read Harold or Marvin Steinberg's articles, they are more well written than Harold Size can speak.
Yes, agreed. Yeah, and just for context for the people new to Karatbars, Marvin Steinberg was the guy who ran their ICO in 2018 for the KBC coin, and they actually had a apparent falling out, and Marvin Steinberg was blamed by Karatbars for various things.
Everything.
Yeah, and made a scapegoat for all the problems. So,
but now I've become the scapegoat 2.0.
Nice. Well, at least you're taking a stand for something, and it's something that you believe in. So I admire that. And this actually leads nicely to my next question. Because you believe in this, and it's an ethical thing for you, why is it important for you to make people aware of Karatbars and where their business is failing?
That's a two-part answer, and I thought about that when you originally asked me, when you sent me the message a few days ago. For one, I didn't see, and John Walsh actually brought this to my attention, and I never got invested to the point where it was suicidal for me with Karatbars. And what I mean by that, I didn't think that anybody would invest so much money into this company from what I saw. But then once I made that video, and then I started making a couple more videos, I started getting people's stories, and I put out some information where people could contact me, like you. And but I realized there were a lot of, John Walsh said, he's like, this is going to ruin people's marriages. People will commit suicide. There's that angle of it. Karatbars is specifically targeted working class people. And my next video, actually, I'll say this now, is I was looking at the analytics of my YouTube channel. And when you look at the analytics of the age group and who's watching my channels, it proves this true too. They were specifically targeting people like that almost retired age, where they had some money, that might have understood gold and then probably didn't understand crypto. They were taking advantage of people that were ignorant. I mean, I know that's a harsh word to say, but the definition of ignorance is lacking knowledge. They knew these people lacked the knowledge, and they could scam them. So that bothered me a lot the more that I started hearing the stories. And also what bothered me is cryptocurrency is definitely the future of the financial market and money. And I don't want to see a company like Karatbars and OneCoin damage the entire crypto community and take away the freedom that the blockchains provided for this because there's a whole bunch of criminals coming into it.
Very good point.
So I'm trying to, to me, it's definitely protecting the people from both angles as far as being vulnerable to this and also protecting an opportunity for us to get away from central banks.
Agreed. It's interesting that you speak about that demographic of people that watch your channel, because it all actually came up in my chat with John Walls, my previous podcast episode, that it's that specific demographic that's geared towards that Karatbars targets. And country-wise, where do you get interest from around the globe?
Most of everything that I'm coming from as far as the analytics of YouTube is coming from the United States, the UK, Africa, and I really do want to, and I'll offer the channel's name out there. Is the guy's name Golden Independence? There's a guy on YouTube. He will literally, like 2 days after I make a video, make another video and rip my title. And he's in the Bermuda Triangle. And now all of a sudden, but he has like 5,000 followers. Like, I definitely give it to him. But now that he's done that, I'm all of a sudden that's popping up on my analytics. I was like, this guy's got something going.
He's actually helped you grow your audience.
Yeah. And well,
Is it that lucky?
I left a comment on his last video. I was like, hey man, if you need me to write your titles, just let me know and I will. But that analytics actually brings up another question, because when I announced that I was going to do the podcast with CryptTalk tomorrow, Tammy Morrison contacted me. And like I'm definitely seeing that they don't want that guy coming on and breaking down the phone. But what also like it brought to my attention is they all justify the cost of the phone because you got the bonus of the cryptocurrency. But if I'm not positive on this, but I'm pretty sure Karatbars wasn't legally allowed to sell their cryptocurrency in the U.S., which is ironic when you look at how many U.S. affiliates they have.
Yeah, very valid point. So the one thing this is just a random question. The one thing that I could never understand is Karatbars has so many different cryptocurrencies in their whole universe. And there at one point was going to be a KCB as well. What happened to that? Because that just died out, and now they're launching e-points and these bonus univols. There's so many different cryptos. I actually don't know where.
Oh man, I mean, if I could call Marvin Steinberg and get him on here, I'd ask him that. But it's true. Like Tammy Morrison's definitely been one. I know she probably hates me using her name because she's definitely threatened me before for saying her name. But I saw her last webinar was back to the basics, which made me question what is the basics of Karatbars, because originally when I found them 7 years ago, it was just the concept of saving in physical gold. Then it was like buy this crypto. Now it's like buy this univols. It's so much. They keep changing. It's a smoke and mirrors. They just keep hypnotizing somebody by a new concept, idea, or product, so they don't have them. It's basically a magic trick. I want you to look here so you can't see what I'm really doing.
I hear you. We've actually flown through our questions so quickly, so I'm just asking one or two more other questions about Karatbars. So just for context, so Tammy Morrison is one of the top US affiliates. What's her status in the organization? Just for context.
I'm pretty sure she's a gold director, Elite 3. I remember talking to her 6 or 7 years ago when I got into Karatbars. I think she was one of the first handful of people that got into Karatbars within the U.S. Well, that's another thing too. It's look how many, I don't know if you want to call them shell companies, but look how many different countries Karatbars is in with different websites or labels. It's not a one-stop shop. Like, because that was definitely that was their argument 6 or 7 years ago. It was like, we have a headquarters in Stuttgart, Germany, next to Mercedes, main office. Like, if we're on the same street of Mercedes, we have to be legit. And then it was Mastercard, issues your debit card. And then what was the other? Oh, then the Vatican buys gold from us. I was like, well, I don't trust any of that.
Yeah. If it's supposed to be social proof, it's not very good social proof.
But then you take that. That was the original argument 7 years ago. But then you take that back and look at the analytics of the demographic of my YouTube channel. They would believe that. That 45 to 65-year-old group of people, that would be enough social proof for them to accept that as this is a legitimate business.
Crazy.
Not crazy, sad.
Yes. And then what gets me is is that companies tell affiliates to ignore negative comments online or information on Google from people outside the organization, and to trust the messages that they get from official channels. So I mean, this is a type of thing that we have to deal with. That sort of programming. It's almost a cult-like behavior when people don't want to listen to any negative information.
Well, that's another thing too, is like, you reach out to me, I'm on this, this podcast, CryptTalk and me. I'll have a guy from Norway, John Walsh, reach out to me through John Walsh, Jim McAdams, that's helping with the OneCoin bring down. I just messaged her this morning about the lilies I planted in my garden. I've talked to Tim Curry. I've got more people that are professionals and experts in their fields contacting me and asking me questions about Karatbars. And then the more that happens, the more negativity I get from the people within Karatbars. Karatbars corporate has never really reached out to me and said anything to me, which to me that says volume, because I'm definitely the thorn in their side. And I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to be honest. But it's just ironic that I'm getting better quality people contacting me and asking me questions, and you can go through the comments section. I mean, when I started, I think my like to dislike ratio on my videos was like 82%. I think it's dropped down to like 69 or something. But I mean, I'm obviously getting a lot more hate now from people that I know right now the leaders of Karatbars are watching my videos and they don't like it. I know they're probably going to hear this podcast and not like it. I know they're following me because I'm putting a dent in their business.
And that's okay, because you're allowed to say
over it.
Exactly. And I mean, we are allowed to our opinion. So, and if we say something that's damaging to the business, then I mean, they're welcome to sue us, which hasn't happened either. I mean, have you received any direct threats or any threats of legal action?
No. The funniest thing, well, the two funniest things I've received was originally, I guess, a group of Gold Director Elite 3s, which are like the top leaders in Karatbars, band together, and they said they had written like a mini constitution, if you will, of to cease and desist me because I was costing their business money. I was costing them, like, they were losing commissions because of me. And it took me like a week to think about that for a second. I mean, I was like, whatever, until I get a letter in the mail. I don't care what you say. But then when I thought about it, I was like, so you want me to shut up for saving people from getting ripped off so you can make more money? And then the second funniest thing I heard was actually somebody from your country posted I didn't see the post directly. Somebody sent me the picture of it, but it was somebody from South Africa was like, I had 6 people that wanted to sign up in Karatbars. Then they found one of my videos, and all 6 of them were like, nope. I was like, that's not my fault.
Well,
That's your fault for bad presentation.
Yeah, exactly. Presenting the other side only better and weight of the information, which they should be allowed to do.
But I haven't received any actual
It's funny, there's a
legal.
joke when South Africans, when we see our name or hear South African movies, we go, yeah, that's us.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the thesis order, that's like a warning shot before legal action. Wasn't really. It was just a deterrent. Nice. Well, let's get into something more offbeat. I mean, let's, in the context of a third world country. I mean, I'm in South Africa, and we are currently in a recession. Yeah, and with this virus going down, we and the lockdown, our economy is battling really badly. But you've also lived, you've lived and worked in a third world country in Honduras. So you've got a really interesting story that I'm keen to hear about when you lived there. Please share that with us.
Oh, the Bay Islands.
Yeah.
That's my quarter life crisis. No, nah. I didn't live. I lived off the Bay Island, or I lived in the Bay Islands of Honduras for a while, and the intentions. And if you guys don't know where the Bay Islands are, they're 35, 36 miles off the coast of Honduras. It's actually really cool. If there's 3 islands, there's Roatan, Utila, and the Wanaha. And if you're on Roatan, I've never checked it out on Wanaha, but if you're on Roatan, if there's like a thunderstorm or like lightning and whatnot in the mountains of Belize, you can see it. Like you can see the silhouettes of the mountains from the coast of the island, which is really cool. But no, I moved out there with the intentions of like I was gonna buy real estate there, and oh god, that was a hilarious story. The night before I was signing the contract of the house that I was gonna buy, because Roatan, if nobody knows, Roatan's the second largest coral reef in the world, next to the Great Barrier Reef in Australia, and it's a huge hub for cruise ships. Which I know that's a bad economical decision right now, but then it was a really smart choice. And I had this house that I was going to buy. It was right on the bay where the cruise ships came in, an infinity pool, 5 bedroom, 5 bathroom. And I had done every kind of research I could have on that island. I had flown my dad out that week to look at the house with me. And that night, there was a 7.3 earthquake. Like, it was that's a funny story. I was getting a glass of milk in the middle of the night, and there was a banana tree next to the window of the kitchen or the apartment I was renting, and it was rattling. I thought the wind got really hard, so I was like, man, is there a hurricane or like what's going on? And you had to buy milk in a bag. So I would take the milk from the bag and put it in a glass pitcher, and I'm holding this like pitcher of milk and drinking it and walking to the window, and then all of a sudden the whole house just starts like rocking. And then all of a sudden my dad like bolts from the back bedroom all the way outside. He's like, earthquake. And then I remember like later we're on the porch of the house. I'm like, how did you know that was an earthquake? Have you ever been in an earthquake? Nope. I watched the Science Channel.
Brilliant. I love it.
I was just like, yeah, but I mean, but being in a third world country, I think for Americans, I'd say 80% of Americans don't even leave the state they live in. I mean, I've driven across my continent twice. I've lived on the East Coast and the West Coast. I've lived outside of the country. And I just think you can't, as an American, and I will say this being an American, you can't judge another country until you've lived in another country. and I especially, and you can't understand your economy. When I showed up to, or when I landed, I flew, I landed on the island in an airplane, and I remember landing on that island, and people were wearing, natives were wearing Kobe Bryant jerseys, and there wasn't a basketball court on the island. I was just like, why? I was like, and they were worried about the championship, and I was just like, why? I was like, why are you wearing a Kobe Bryant jersey? And I mean, they would have like a shack with like stolen cable running to it, and you could see the cable like floating across the trees. But it was just, it was that that Roman mentality of everybody wanted to be like Rome. And when I saw that, I was like, man, you guys. But at the same token, they'd never been to America, so. And I'm not bashing my country by any means, but there's two sides to every argument.
That's a very interesting perspective. I know even in Europe, countries like Sweden, they have a very strong American culture. I mean, here as well, people watch American shows, and I mean, a lot of the cultural stuff is part of our culture as well. But I don't think we're as big on American sports, because we're more like the British side of sports, so like rugby and soccer and that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, you guys have fun. You guys have good sports. We have commercialized sports.
And then, but America's got great music. So I think culturally, like film-wise and movie-wise,
let's back that up. No, America might have made rock and roll, but since then, oh God, I wouldn't say any of the new music coming out of America is great right now.
Well, that's debatable, but I think music in general has lost its value, and it's become too commercialized, and it's too easy to produce. I mean, we can make an argument for scarcity in terms of music. I mean, it's not scarce, it's easy to produce, and there's a lot going around, so it's actually devalued the supply of music.
Yeah, I actually just watched a really good documentary on and I've not lived there, but I've been there for an extended period, on the Sunset Strip, the Whiskey A Go Go, and the Rainbow Room, and that's where a lot of rock and roll happened. But it's like rock and roll and good music, and that culture, it's becoming a museum artifact.
True. It sounds like
it's crazy now being my age and hearing songs. Like, I remember like hearing a song that I grew up with in high school on the radio, and then and then finding out that radio station I'm listening to is classic rock. I'm like, I'm old.
Don't worry, I feel you.
Or like, a different feeling too is seeing like a teenager wearing like a Nirvana shirt now. And I'm like, I remember when Kurt Cobain died, you weren't even born yet. But then at the same token, I think, well, is that how my parents felt like when I wore a Jim Morrison shirt? It's just different. We're just getting old.
Yeah. Yeah, Nirvana shirts. So you see them in these trendy shops, and then the millennials don't even know Nirvana. They think it's a fashion label.
Oh God. That's
maybe we I think we should do a complete stream just on music, because I think this can be a separate talk, because there's a lot to talk about music. Do you play any instruments?
No, I don't, but I know a lot about. I took, actually in college, I took a course in the history of rock, actually multiple courses in the history of rock and roll, and it's just amazing. And I'm a huge blues fan. So if you're a rock and roll fan, rock and roll is nothing but the blues, and that's a southern, agony. That's a music of pain.
Yeah. Blues is great. You can feel that authenticity in the music. It's beautiful.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, and
I
you
think
don't
that's
hear that nowadays.
Exactly. That's what's missing from commercialized, mass-produced music. That soul and that that grit.
Like artificial intelligence couldn't play the blues. A robot couldn't play the blues.
No, you need human emotion and feel
Yes,
and
you
soul.
definitely need that emotion.
Definitely. So I'm really keen to hear. I mean, we had a chat before this about the situation in your state. How's things in your state at the moment due to this viral outbreak, and how are you coping with your day-to-day life?
I'm pretty good. I live in a secluded area. Like I'm in a log. I'm literally in a log cabin on the lake. I know how to cook and fend for myself. Overall, though, as far as the states, I am glad you asked this question because I think it's important that people hear this. We're in a global pandemic. Like this isn't something that's affecting one area or small area. This is affecting everybody. And when it comes to my government and my president, I think my president really dropped the ball on that. I mean, this. I'm not saying this was preventable by any means. It could have been handled a lot different, a lot better from a president's standpoint. Hindsight 2020 on that though, because President Trump's definitely given the reins to every state's governor how they want to reign or how they want to control their population or their state. And it's been really good because you've seen certain governors like the governor of New York, Cuomo, the governor of California, really step up to the plate. And I'll say this openly right now that I think the governor of New York and the governor of California have done a better job running their state during this pandemic than our president has the entire country.
Hmm.
And I have no
So
shame in saying that. I mean, it's obvious. It's obvious in our death toll, and and just look at the state. Cuomo's the governor of New York, and stuff like that. This is when it comes to viruses and pandemics like this, Mother Nature always has the upper hand. So you can never underestimate Mother Nature.
hmm, true. And just for context, what sort of restrictions do you have in terms of the lockdown in your area?
Well, it's supposed to be everybody's supposed to wear a mask. Everybody's supposed to only be going out for essentials to the grocery store, but there's no level of enforcement. I mean, I only go to the grocery store. You're not driving as much, so you don't have to get gas. But I mean, you still go out and nobody abides by the restrictions because there's no real enforcement to it.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounds the same. Yeah, I know they've because of our socio-economic conditions. A lot of people live in townships and poorer areas. They've actually had lots of problems with conformity there because people live in such cramped conditions that they actually have to get out, and we aren't even allowed to walk our dogs or go exercise outside. We have to stay in our properties, which is really hectic. But yeah, I mean, we all trying to make the best of this, and yeah, trying to stay positive. But I mean, and it's great that we have mediums like this and chat. We have got Skype and technology to keep us sane and connected.
Well, I think if we didn't have this technology today, we wouldn't know how bad the pandemic really was. It'd be
Mm,
easier for governments to lie.
yeah. What do you think of China's role in their handling of the virus?
The role, I, I can't say. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say that I believe I'm sitting. We started this podcast with me being a Karatbars affiliate that made a video, so I'm not going to say I and I'm not telling everybody to believe everything on all my videos. You got to do your due diligence. But do I think it's 100% China's fault? No. I mean, I think that we're always a step away from a pandemic like this. It's been the way that humanity's been living, and I think after all this, we're definitely the world is going to change the way that they live in a good manner. But it's taking something this severe for them to realize the damage they've done on the planet. This pandemic, this virus got so injected to society because we've grown as a species so quick. We're not balancing out, how we live on the planet in a proper. We're not managing our existence on this planet as a species properly.
Well said. So I think we've covered quite a lot in this short time.
Yeah,
lots of content to digest. Yeah. It's so clear and so defined. I think there's lots of value in this chat so far. I think, Chris, just as a final closing remark, anything else you'd like to say? And then how can people get a hold of you on social media and hit you up online?
If you guys want to follow, if you haven't followed Grit Grind Gold, and Grit Grind Gold's YouTube channel on YouTube, it's Grit Grind Gold. It's not specifically about Karatbars. I mean, it started as that. I'm trying to steer that away to show people a positive alleyway, like this podcast of, I understand people got burnt, or some people might have got burnt by Karatbars, so I'm trying to give them the medication to redeem themselves for that. So you can follow me on Grit Grind Gold on YouTube. It's 24KaratChris on Twitter. That's 24KaratChris, and then 24KaratChris at Gmail if you want to email me. And if you guys email me, I'm old school. I like talking on the phone, so just email me, and I'll probably give you my WhatsApp. I'm not going to throw out my. Certain people know my personal cell phone number. Lou does, but we still Skype because he's in South Africa. But I'm trying to manage who I give out my direct information to. But yeah, email me if you have a question or anything. I'd rather talk on the phone or Skype or do a pod. And if anybody wants me for a podcast guest, I'm open to it because I'm stuck home.
Brilliant. Well, I definitely recommend people. Yeah, I definitely recommend you for a podcast because this was great. Thanks, Chris. Let's wrap it up. And nice chatting to you. And stay safe and stay clean and healthy. And let's carry on with our mission of spreading the truth.
Well, yeah. After this is done, give me the link to this podcast so I can throw it in my descriptions for the YouTube channels.
Great stuff. And I'll also link all your social profiles in the description so people can see that.
You rock, man.
Thanks. You too.
All right, I'll talk to you tomorrow, man. Later.
Cheers, bud. Cheers. Bye.